Welcome to DD History. Last time, Jason pulled off the impossible. With Medea's help, he tamed fire-breathing bulls, fought an army of skeleton warriors, and straight up outsmarted a dragon to snatch the Golden Fleece. But if you thought that was the hard part, think again. Today, the Argonauts face an even greater challenge, escaping Colchis with an angry king, vengeful gods, and a trail of curses hot on their heels. So grab your oar, because this journey home makes the trip out look like a sunny boat cruise. With the Golden Fleece in hand, Jason probably thought, mission accomplished. Like the credits should be rolling with triumphant music. But unfortunately for him, this wasn't a movie. It was Greek mythology, and nothing ends neatly in Greek mythology. King Aeëtes, ruler of Colchis and Medea's not-so-nice dad, wasn't exactly thrilled when he found out Jason had stolen the fleece with Medea's help. Let's just say Aeëtes was ready to throw the kind of temper tantrum that would make even Zeus nervous. Jason and the crew had about 5 minutes of victory before they realized, oh no, the king has an army, we have a boat, and we need to leave, now. So picture the scene. Jason, Medea, and the Argonauts sneaking through the dark, the fleece glowing like a golden disco blanket, probably drawing attention like a neon sign. They make their way back to the Argo, hoping the guards are too sleepy to notice. But of course word spreads quickly. Aeëtes rallies his warriors, his chariots, and his ships, and suddenly Jason and his crew are in the middle of a high-stakes ancient Greek getaway. Now about the Argo, this wasn't just some average rowboat you could pick up at the nearest harbor. The Argo was practically a character itself in this story. Built by the craftsman Argus, not to be confused with the hundred-eyed giant, different guy. The ship was blessed by the goddess Athena. Its prow, the front part, was crafted from magical oak wood taken from the sacred grove at Dodona, a place where trees could literally talk. That meant the Argo could sometimes speak, give advice, or issue warnings. Imagine your boat yelling at you mid-storm, hey guys, maybe don't row into the giant whirlpool? Very handy. So as Jason and Medea sprint back onto the ship, you can imagine the Argo giving a groan like, finally! I was starting to think you forgot me! The crew shoves off from Colchis just as the king's forces rush down to the shore. The chase is on. And here's where things get really messy. To slow down her father's pursuit, Medea comes up with a plan. And it's the kind of plan only someone raised in a palace of sorcery would think of. Depending on which version of the myth you read, she either unleashes some magical tricks to stir up the waters, or in darker versions, sacrifices her own brother Apsyrtus to buy them time. Yeah, Greek myths don't always go light on the family drama. It's one of those moments where you realize why teachers always warn you. Don't look up the unedited versions until you're ready. But however it played out, Medea's actions worked. Aeëtes and his fleet were delayed, giving the Argonauts just enough breathing room to escape Colchis and head back into the wide, dangerous seas. Now here's the thing about the journey home. It wasn't a straight line. In fact, it's almost like the gods looked down and said, Jason got what he wanted. How about we make the trip home way worse than the trip out? Every stop seemed cursed. Every island came with a new danger. But before we get into the long parade of disasters, let's focus on that initial escape. The Argonauts row day and night, desperate to put as much distance between themselves and Colchis as possible. Heracles is pulling half the weight by himself. Orpheus is singing sea shanties to keep morale up, and Atalanta is probably reminding everyone she runs faster than this ship is moving. The crew is exhausted but determined. Meanwhile, the Argo's magical prow occasionally pipes up with cryptic warnings like, beware the wrath of Zeus, or this won't end well. Super encouraging stuff, but despite the gloom, Jason holds the Golden Fleece high, proof of their victory and a reminder that they can't turn back now. The escape is more than just physical, though. It's symbolic. Jason has crossed a line. He's defied a king, stolen a sacred treasure, and bound his fate to Medea, who's left her home and family behind forever. From this point on, there's no going back. Jason's story is no longer about winning the Golden Fleece. It's about surviving the fallout. So the Argonauts push onward, past the shores of Colchis, into waters that grow stranger and more treacherous with every mile. Behind them, they leave a furious king, a cursed homeland, and a trail of unfinished business that will haunt them all the way back to Greece. Ahead of them lies storm after storm, monster after monster, and god after god with an axe to grind. And if you think the trip out was dangerous, wait until you see what the gods have in store for their return. And that's where we'll hit pause. Jason's got the Golden Fleece, the Argo is finally back at sea, and for one brief moment, it looks like our heroes might actually get a happy ending. But this is Greek mythology, which means, nope, things are about to get way, way worse. Before we dive into storms, curses, and gods with grudges, take a quick second to like this video, hit subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the disasters waiting for the Argonauts. Trust me, if you thought stealing the fleece was dramatic, the journey home is like a season finale written by Zeus himself. All right, let's get back into it. So, Jason and the Argonauts have just pulled off the heist of the century, stealing the Golden Fleece right out from under King Aeëtes' nose. They've dodged an army, tricked a dragon, and made a break for it on the Argo. You'd think that'd be enough. But remember, this is Greek mythology. The moment you think you're safe, the gods say, "Hold my ambrosia." The wrath of Zeus. The first problem? Medea. Not that she's the problem herself, but what she did to help Jason escape. Whether she tricked her brother, sabotaged her father's fleet, or went full dark side, depending on which version you read, her actions angered the gods, especially Zeus. Because Zeus loves family loyalty, in between turning into swans and chasing mortals. So right away, the Argonauts are cursed. Every storm seems worse, every island they approach feels like it's hiding a trap. It's like the Greek gods invented the world's worst travel insurance policy. The detour to Circe, their first major stop, the island of Circe. Yep. The very same Circe who later tries to turn Odysseus's men into pigs. Here, though, she's not exactly a pig whisperer yet. She's more like the family witch who lives way too far out in the countryside. When Jason and Medea arrive, Circe immediately knows something is up. Her magical senses tingle like a Greek version of Spidey sense, and she realizes Medea's hands are covered in guilt. Literal blood guilt. From her brother Apsyrtus. Medea begs her aunt, yep, Circe is her aunt, to purify them. Circe reluctantly agrees, but also delivers a very clear message. You guys are cursed. Don't expect smooth sailing from here. Comforting the Wandering Rocks. After Circe's pep talk, the Argonauts run straight into one of the worst nautical hazards ever, the Wandering Rocks, also called the Planktae. Imagine giant boulders that float around like bumper cars, slamming together at random. Sail through them, and your ship will be crushed into splinters. But guess what? They had help. Hera sends a guide, the sea goddess Thetis, who, fun fact, would later be the mother of Achilles. With her divine navigation skills, the Argo squeaks through the rocks with only a few scratches. That said, the crew probably needed some new pants afterward. More monsters, of course. You'd think surviving the Wandering Rocks would be enough for one day, but nope. The Argo next sails past the Sirens. Yes, those Sirens. The same ones who almost wreck Odysseus years later. Half bird, half woman, all bad news. Their voices were so beautiful that sailors would jump overboard just to get closer, only to drown on the rocks. But the Argonauts had a secret weapon, Orpheus. He whips out his lyre and plays music so enchanting it drowns out the siren's call. Imagine having Spotify Premium but live on deck. Thanks to Orpheus, nobody dives into the sea, and the Argo makes it past safely. Talos the bronze giant. Finally, after countless storms and near misses, the Argonauts sail into Crete, which sounds relaxing, until they meet Talos, the bronze giant. Talos was basically the island's bouncer, a huge metal man who circled Crete 3 times a day, throwing rocks at unwelcome visitors. Think of him as the world's first automated security system, only louder and shinier. How do you defeat a bronze giant? Medea, of course. She notices that Talos has a single vein running from his ankle up to his neck, sealed with a bronze nail. She uses her magic to trick him into pulling it out, and once he does, all his ichor, that's like divine blood for immortals, gushes out, and Talos collapses. The Argonauts celebrate, though probably also wonder, why does every one of Medea's plans involve someone dying horribly? Back to Greece, finally. At last, after storms, curses, and way too many monsters, the Argo limps back to Greece. You'd think Jason would finally get his happily ever after. He's got the Golden Fleece, the heroic tale, and a loyal band of adventurers to sing his praises. But nope. This is where things get really awkward. Remember Peleus, the king who sent Jason on this suicide mission in the first place, hoping he'd never come back? Yeah, he's still sitting on the throne of Colchis. Jason presents the Golden Fleece like, "See? Told you I'd do it." But Peleus shrugs and says, "Cool story, still not giving up my throne." Jason is crushed. He risked everything, lost friends, made enemies of kings and gods, and for what? A shiny sheepskin and a very awkward homecoming. But Medea isn't done yet. She hatches a scheme to get rid of Peleus once and for all. And that's where the Argonauts' tale really closes, not with triumph, but with betrayal, curses, and tragedy. Because in Greek mythology, even the best heroes rarely get a storybook ending. So Jason did it. He stole the Golden Fleece, fought dragons, escaped angry kings, dodged storms, resisted sirens, and even took down a giant robot. But when he got home, he discovered the truth. Sometimes the hardest part of an adventure is what happens after. And that's why Jason and the Argonauts' journey is remembered not just for the glory, but for the curse that followed them all the way home.